Hey guys, it's a really nice day where I am, and I'm out walking the dog, and I thought, why not make a little video? So, yeah, a little bit different, but could be good, could be really bad. Let me know what you think. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was kind of managing disappointment and keeping a really positive mindset for the GAMSAT and staying motivated. Because obviously the GAMSAT results came out yesterday, and with that, I think a lot of people would have got a disappointing score and might be feeling a bit flat today. And I think what I wanted to emphasize was really that this is normal. A lot of people go through this. I certainly had a lot of really negative thoughts when I was doing my GAMSAT prep, but also I think it's just part of medicine, and I think sitting the GAMSAT really is your first step to being a doctor. And all along the road now, from now into when you're a consultant doctor, you're going to have a lot of setbacks. Just last week I had an OSCE that went horrendously bad, and I'm certain that I failed that, and that was really disappointing. And I guess what you need to take from that is just, okay, well, you didn't prepare the right things. How are you going to improve next time? What do you need to take from that in the future? And I think that if you take that mindset, that same mindset into the GAMSAT of, okay, this is just the first step in my medical journey, I think that can be quite reassuring and, yeah, make you a little bit more positive. I spoke a little bit about my GAMSAT setbacks, and there was one time in particular where I finally felt like I was making progress for the first time. So I've spoken a little bit about my journey and what I did for study on this channel before, but I started with the really content heavy stuff from grad ready, and it's just not what I need. And then I started thinking, okay, I need to do the questions and reflect on stuff and all that stuff that I now tell you guys to do. And for the first time, I finally felt like I was making progress. And then I distinctly remember attempting a bunch of questions, and it was horrible. And I scored worse than the very first questions that I did. So I thought, I've done all this hard work, and if anything, I've gone backwards. And that was really hard. And I just thought, is this exam too much? Am I never going to get the result that I need? And should I just give up? And luckily I didn't. And I'll give you some tips later on in this video for kind of regaining that motivation after a disappointing result. But I was really flat after that. And I think I wanted to bring that up because I think you can really look at why this might happen. And if you can understand why that might happen, I think you can look back on these disappointing results and say to yourself, well, I know that I'm still making progress. I just haven't got to exactly where I need to be yet. So I think that there's a large distribution of scores that people can get when they've got the basics of the GAMSAT down, but they're not quite there to get those really good scores. I think you could really score anywhere between a 40 and a 60, depending on your day. So you very well might have actually made a bit of progress, but you're still in that kind of bracket of not being able to string, let's say, an entire stem of questions together correctly. You're still making mistakes here and there, and you haven't completely figured it out. I think when you're at that stage, you could score a wide range of scores. And I've just pulled those numbers out of my head, but that is what I believe is the kind of normal distribution of scores when you're at that stage. And when you do start stringing together multiple questions correctly in a row, I think that's when you start to see people push up towards the 65, 70 and higher. And it happens quite quickly in my experience. So you could have got, let's say, a worse score. I've heard of quite a few people freaking out a little bit because their score's gone down. And I think that's just a reflection of that kind of sampling error that's possible in the GAMSAT. It's not necessarily a reflection of your ability. So you might have improved, you almost certainly haven't gotten worse, but you might have just stayed the same as well. And that's why your score is kind of fluctuating a little bit. And I also think, in the example that I gave before, there was, I would have been practicing a type of question, and then I would have picked out questions that I felt were similar to that, or they looked similar. But as I've spoken about a lot, that looks can be deceiving, and you really shouldn't look at it in terms of the content of the question and more in terms of the problem-solving process. But sometimes you don't know what the problem-solving process is until you've actually solved the problem. So when I was doing these questions, even though they look similar to the ones that I'd just spent a lot of time solving, in reality they were probably something very different. And the reason I did badly on them is just because I hadn't worked that one out yet. And I think there will be more types of certain questions on your exam, and I think that also contributes to the kind of fluctuation in scores that are possible. Is, let's say you had spent a lot of time on maths or something like that, and then no maths questions came up, then it's going to be hard to demonstrate your maths. So there is kind of a critical point that I feel you need to have a really good level in multiple domains to be able to consistently string really good GAMSAT scores together. So that could be another kind of reason behind, a disappointing score. So how do I think you should deal with these kind of setbacks and stay motivated? I'd probably break it down to 3 steps. So I think the first step is always just taking a bit of time away from it, getting away, not thinking about it. Taking a week off's not going to change anything in terms of how much study you can get done, but it's going to be really beneficial for you on a personal level. So really just step away, relax, do something you enjoy, and just reset. I think the next kind of thing that is really beneficial and something that I do a lot is remind yourself of your motivations and goals. So when I got that bad GAMSAT result and I was thinking about, not sitting the exam, I kind of just had to think, why are you doing this? You've not really enjoyed your career so far and all your jobs, and you think that this might be something that you really enjoy and will be an exciting career and, blah, 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 blah. And I think just reminding yourself of why you're doing something can be really good to get back on that horse and keep going. And when you do get on that horse and you start studying again, just really try to think deeply about what you're trying to achieve. So try to think back to those questions. What did you find hard about them? Can you kind of boil that down into one word, one sentence, just something that you feel that you weren't doing well at? Can you find things that, does that remind you of one of the ACER questions, for example? Can you work on that? What are some ways that you can actually think about improving that specific thing that you found most challenging, and create a plan? So I think creating a plan of attack I find really empowering, because you feel like you're taking charge of that thing that's holding you back. So you've got this negative result, you've identified it, you know what it is, and now you're coming to get it. So that's how I would kind of deal with a disappointing result, and how, I mean, had a disappointing result last week. So I'm speaking from experience here. Yeah, taking a bit of time away, then just kind of reminding yourself why you're doing something, reflecting on what went wrong, and then creating a plan of attack to do better next time. So, as I said, I think the GAMSAT is just the first step in your medical journey, and it's a hard career, and there's going to be setbacks at every step of the journey, and this won't be the last one, unfortunately. So it's hard, and it's okay that it's upsetting, but I think if you can start learning strategies to get back on that horse and keep studying, keep motivated, just keep going, you will see the improvements. And I think it's also a really important skill to develop for future setbacks once you're actually in medicine, and maybe even when you're practicing as a doctor. So yeah, try to keep this in mind, but for now, focus on step one, take a break, be kind to yourself, and do something that you enjoy. So it's not the end, it's just a little setback. But yeah, let me know what you think of this new format, if you like seeing me walk around the block with the dog. Maybe I'll do it again, maybe I won't. But yeah, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.